Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for joining us today for Insight Innovation. My name is Yaron Zussman, and I'm going to be presenting Magos Systems and talk about how we're bringing radar technology to the security industry by reinventing radars. So in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to talk about what is Magos. We're a relatively newcomer into the market, so I know a lot of people probably never heard of us, what we do, and how we feel we're really changing the way perimeter intrusion detection is being performed for different application on the commercial side. So Magos has really one focus in life. Our focus is developing high-end radar technology that fits the commercial market, coupled with a very easy to use, intuitive user experience on a software side that helps you by integrating to any of the most common VMSs in the market. Really, we do not care if it's a Genetec, a Vigilon, Milestone, or any of the other that you guys use. We're quick and agile, so we push a lot of really cool products and innovations into the market. The company is not new, so the product is tested. We've just been relatively new on the commercial side. We started the company about 13 years ago, mainly making OEM radars for the defense and military contractors. And with that, a couple of years ago, we realized that a lot of the technology that we have developed really has application as well as price points that meet the commercial market. So we made that leap into the commercial market. 2018 is when we started our operation in the US. And since then, we've been very successful in some vertical markets that we'll talk about. We're currently installed in over 30 countries. I know this is a global show, so we do have a lot of global customers out there. So when we look at our technology, we break it down to two main pieces. One is the sensor hardware, which is basically a MIMO radar, which is a multiple input, multiple output radar. Very small, compact unit, but it packs a pretty strong punch. The unit is FCC approved, it's UL listed, and can be installed pretty much anywhere around the world based on the testing that we have done. The hardware unit is what you see here on the left of the screen. Coupled with the hardware comes our software package, which is called MAS, which is the Magos Area Surveillance Software, which is where you configure the radar, tie PTZ cameras, pan-tilt zoom cameras into the radar, as well as integrate it into your either access control and VMS system to give the users at the command center really a unique experience in terms of the capabilities of the radar, but also leave them working with the technologies they're currently used to working with, which is the video management or the PSIM system that is out there. So as an example, I will show a little clip here that we have, and that clip would show how Magos would operate within a Genetec type GUI. So as you can see here, there's one radar to the north, one radar to the south, and we like to say we make that old PTZ cameras relevant again. So if you look here, as the target is moving in the field of view, the PTZ camera is following the target and continuously tracks it based on the exact location. This is not based on preset. This is, we know through the radar where exactly to send that PTZ and where to continuously follow that target, which makes it really cool. And again, this can be, it doesn't matter who we do. Another cool thing that we have here, so this is not a cool thing that I want to show. So if we go into what is the advantages of radar, you say, why radar? You know, radar is a 50-year-old technology. What are you bringing me radar as part of innovation? The nice thing that we see here is with radar, we are able to go and solve a lot of the obstacles that people see today and the reason they stop using a lot of the technologies that currently exist. The traditional approach for perimeter is usually fixed cameras around the perimeter, which means a lot of power, a lot of cabling, a lot of infrastructure cost, and then a couple of PTZ cameras to scan the area. What we do with Magos, because each one of those radar has about 120 degrees in field of view, we are able to cover the same area with usually 4 or 5 radars and tie them into strategically located PTZs, which means significantly reducing the cost of not only equipment, but also installation, infrastructure, etc. Additional advantages, we do not care about the weather. So it doesn't care if it's rains, cloudy, shadows, all of those things. The RF sensor do not care about that. This auto PTZ queuing, a lot of companies through the years have tried to do PTZ tracking with analytics, and it's always tricky. Here, we're actually taking the data from the sensor, coupling it with the PTZ, and we're able to really do PTZ tracking based on the exact location. Easily integrated into any VMS, real wide area coverage. So again, if you look at each radar that goes to either 250 to 1 kilometer with 120-degree field of view, you now can couple it with a really good camera versus if you had a fixed camera looking at that length, you'll probably have a 5-degree field of view. So significant reduction in terms of infrastructure cost and number of cameras that you need, which makes it very cost effective. It's a very low power consumption device. So the radar is about 3 watts and it requires 4 screws to install. So it's very easy to install and maintain using a universal mount that you can adjust. So again, a lot of advantages over what's out there today. So we are installed in over 30 countries and we're installed in different vertical markets such as sport, critical infrastructure, farms. It really depends on the geography where we see different verticals that we operate in. This shows you some example. This is an example of a port that we did, which was about 8 kilometer in around the port, and some really other cool things. So you'll see here, these are the vertical markets that I discussed, anywhere from construction to nuclear power plants. These are the sensors. So this would be the SR500 or the SR250. That's the SR1000, a little bit bigger. This is a 1 kilometer, so the 250 and 500 is all in meters. You see here, you want to protect 360 degrees of a facility, 3 radars, 1 good PTZ, and you have it covered, and you can see here different installation. In addition, something I didn't talk, we have a vertical elevation of about 30 degrees, which means you don't have any dead zone under the radar as long as you mount the radar at about 20 feet. So you can see here, those guys are walking pretty much to the pole where the radar is mounted on, and they're being followed to that pole. So there's really no dead zone under that radar, which create really good coverage. Another thing is that since it is a 5-watt, 3-watt device, depending on you can solar power it as well. And the concept of operation of installing the radar is always the same. We take that blanket of cameras where later in the command center, nobody is able to watch, and we put radars in strategic locations with geofencing and ignore zones based on the customer needs. And with that, allow us to really get good coverage at very efficient cost. The nice thing is, again, you can control the PTZ both manually, but most importantly, automatically. So here the PTZ is just staring at a tree. Something happens, something moves, boom, the PTZ will start following that target and call for action through an event in the VMS. Work very well with thermal cameras as well as visible cameras. And I think one of the biggest advantages that we have over existing technologies is how we work on water. So radars work very, very well on water. This is some aqua agriculture fish farms in South America, where we're able, using radars and PTZ, to really see what's going on the barges and what's going on in the fish tanks, and allow them to react when intruders are showing up and are able to eliminate a lot of the issues. We can track up to 100 targets simultaneously, but if you do have 100 targets simultaneously in an area, it's probably not the area for a radar. But again, the radar has the power to do that if needed. So these are the sensors that we offer. We have 3 main sensors: the SR250, 250 meters, about 750 feet for the Americans in the audience. Works on C-band, extremely low bandwidth, so it's a non-issue in terms of bandwidth ever. Azimuth coverage of about 120 degrees, elevation coverage of about 30 degrees, FCC UL listed, and about 3.3 pounds. Operating temperature, the radar is approved by defense authorities to use -40 to 85, so anywhere from the North Dakotas to Alaska to the middle of the desert, you can install the radar in terms of the operating temperatures. There is no moving part. It is a solid state device in the radar, so no spinning part, no moving part, so very, very high MTBF. The SR500, it's the big brother. It's 500 meters, about 1,500 feet. And again, same technical spec, pretty much, just double in terms of the coverage. And then we have the SR1000. that goes up to 1 kilometer. That's a very good device, usually over water or for longer distances in open area that we use. And again, the only thing is the azimuth coverage of this device is a little bit smaller. It's about 100 degrees versus the 120. So if you do have to cover 360, you'll need 4 of these from the pole. Some other cool things that we do. So we have a lot of installations that are in very remote areas. And again, because of their non-requirement for power, it's easy to do. You just use a solar panel, a radar, and some application. A lot of them do have PTZ cameras, but when you don't, there's really, through the software, we are able to integrate to some really cool things. So one of the things that we've done here is actually we've integrated with a partner company, which does an autonomous drone. And the nice thing about what we do here with the autonomous drone is based on radar detection, I can either send a PTZ or send data to the drone software to launch the drone autonomously. So again, a lot of drone regulation in terms of beyond visible line of sight, but the drone technically can launch on its own and start following the target when the PTZ is no longer effective. Really strong capabilities. And this is something that is being done today. It's not science fiction. And as you can see here, when a drone starts following an intruder, the intruder knows that they're doing something wrong. It's not like a PTZ from a mile away. So really good way for, again, closing that loop in terms of the command center, in terms of the field, and understanding what's going on when you do have an intrusion on your perimeter. So again, everybody talks about IoT, about digital transformation. I think it's happening on the physical side as well. The robotic age is coming. There is things that can really be done by fusion of sensors that significantly improves the concept of operation for remote facilities. Some other cool technologies that we have developed is the Magos Mass AI, which is basically our software, our mass software, with a combination of deep learning and artificial intelligence for target classification. And the reason that we developed this technology was that we started developing and deploying a lot of remote facilities. And what we've seen is the system is great at detecting, but we were able to detect anything with a heartbeat. And a lot of our sites had a lot of wildlife overnight, coyotes, foxes, deers, all of that, which created a nuisance alarm for the user. So we went to the drawing boards, we took a look, and we said, what can we do to change that? And we understood that we have some classification data coming from the radar, but more importantly, the cameras of today give us very good images that we can run AI, artificial intelligence, on and start classifying those targets. So by tying those two together and fusing the sensor and the camera, we were able to really do well and tie this application together to create the Mass AI to tell you, hey, this is a person, you need to act about it. This is a stray animal, you don't care about it. This is a car, you can decide what you want to do about it. And this is a bicycle, right? So the idea, again, is to eliminate false alarms as much as possible. There's still gonna be some nuisance alarms, like there's no perfect 100% system out there, but the system works very well. So we can see here in the area of interest, I have a target, the PTZ is following it and classifying it as a person. It knows, okay, I have a person walking here and I only care about people. You'll see that even when cars move or cars are getting classified, we don't really care about them. Something else walks into my field of view, the radar detects and start tracking. And then again, the PTZ will zoom in. Once the PTZ zooms in, we can see that there's a person over there. And I was talking about the 1 meter range resolution. You'll see that as long as they separate about a meter from each other, they're going to be seen even as two targets, which is pretty impressive. So you'll see that they're walking towards the facility and they are two targets walking. Something else got into my red zone or my zone of interest. The PTZ would go classify as a stray animal, I don't care about prey animal. It is not going to create an alarm or an event for me. And I'll go back to following my main targets. So again, really, really cool capability that allows us to classify targets based on basically who they are versus just creating an alarm for everything that moves. Some other cool things that we have here. You can see that this guy is getting classified as a person on a bike. As he's driving and he's in an area, and the PTZ, as you can see, keeps following him and actually meets that in person walking from behind, being classified as a person next to the main fence and going out. As you can see, cars we don't really care about. We see that they're cars, but we don't alarm on them or don't do anything unless they get into the area of interest. Another cool thing here, so you can see a person walking in the field. He's being classified as a person. And if this was a deer, I wouldn't care, but why is that person walking here in that field that nobody should be in? And then something even cooler, we can see that there's a pretty narrow walkway over there right next to the road. And as these guys are going to walk, they're going to be classified as human. And we can see that a lot of cars are going in that road and they're not creating an alarm. Although my lobe of the radar is actually getting those guys. So again, really, really cool technology with mass AI allows us to do that differentiation between people and events and others. Talk about a little bit of vertical market. So again, we do anything from water treatment plant, oil refineries, substation, airports, seaports, parking lots, solar farms, farms in South Africa, logistics centers next to cities, and I'm gonna show some specific examples that we have here. So electrical utility substations, one of the biggest vertical markets that we have today. And when we can see it, there's a lot of them. They're actually most of the time very remote, and it's very easy to attack them today. We know that both in terms of physical as well as the cyber side, and the protection of them is very important. So this one is an example where this one mast, as you can see, has 3 radars on it. There's another one that has a couple of radars, and those 5 radars are able to change and replace about 23 old thermal cameras that were protecting the site. But not only that, actually gave the customer a much better user experience, much less false alarms, and tied into those 2 PTZs there, as well as the gunshot detection and some other cool technologies that are out there. So when we look at substations, again, one of the key vertical markets that we work in. Another key vertical market is data centers. Data centers are mostly critical infrastructure, a lot of server data, a lot of information, and most of them are still protected the old-fashioned way with cameras around the perimeter with analytics. A lot of the new data centers that are coming for design right now take radar into consideration, significantly reducing the amount of poles that they have, and better giving the customer better experience in terms of the ability to manage alarms and events, et cetera, et cetera. So just a little case study we've recently done. 2 brand new data center built from scratch were designed with about 45 cameras each. We met with the consultant, worked with the integrator. 8 radars were installed in 2 sites with 16 PTZ cameras. And we're able to get a lot of the targets that are coming in, significantly reducing the amount of people that they need to monitor all the cameras that they had there. And the bonus was that we were actually significantly cheaper than the original VMD-based solution. Auto dealerships, that's another one that, a lot of new cars, a lot of theft, a lot of vandalism that goes into these facilities. And what we see there, I have a really cool case study here to show you guys as well, which this site had about 40 VMD fixed cameras and was replaced with 4 radars and 3 PTZs. As you can see, it's a massive site. And once you're able to draw a virtual fence around that site using the radars, you can see that something is happening here, and we can see the tracks of the radars being generated in the software. If I was monitoring this facility in the command center, I would 99% miss that event here. But now, since I see that person going and I see the tracks and the PTZ is moving, I can start zooming in and see, hey, I do have somebody here. Is he walking between the cars? Is he up to no good? Do I need to do something about it? You can tie it into an IP-based speaker system. You can do a lot of things about it in terms of that capability. So again, think about auction facilities, think about car dealership, think about the big lots outside of the airports. There's a lot of opportunity to replace existing technologies or augment existing technologies with cool radar technology. Port perimeter, I spoke a little bit about that, but seaport, you can do a lot of both water as well as indoor applications. Airports as well, a lot of applications that we have in airports, anything from VIP plane hangars to tarmacs to parking lots, as well as other things. Oil and gas, same thing, large facilities that require a lot of protection around them, and radars are a good fit for that, because a lot of the time they're in the middle of nowhere, do not always have all the infrastructure that is needed, and you can significantly reduce the amount of infrastructure you put around those facilities. Solar energy, same thing, either in the desert or in a lot of new places they're built in the middle of nowhere, have very expensive equipment in them and are very hard to protect. And therefore, we're able to now again significantly reduce the amount of cameras that you need, and just using radar technology, able to protect the perimeter around those sites. We also see some of our partners tying together basically trailers. And again, with the trailers, because of the radar requires so little power, some of them actually use solar power for it, but it can be used as far as temporary sites for construction monitoring, a lot of other things that can be done. I was talking before, showing a little bit about fish farms and aqua agriculture, big market for us. Farm protection, same thing. You know, we work in South Africa, and through catching anything from protecting large farms to mobile devices for poaching, as well as any other things that are out there. Gas terminal, very similar to oil and gas. Logistics hub is a big one as well. If you look at all the companies today, between Walmart, Amazon, and all the rest, they're building a lot of those last mile distribution center outside of the main cities, but usually still in relatively rural areas that are pretty open. A lot of people know that there's very expensive equipment in those distribution centers and the logistics hub, and as a result, they do need to be protected, but it can become very expensive to cover them. So again, with usually with 5-6 radars and a couple of good PTZs, you are able to cover that perimeter pretty nicely. Last but not least is education. So we do have education facilities that we do. We do have some cool case studies, and education is mostly on the athletic field. So if we look at all of the large universities, they have huge athletic campuses that are sometimes off campus and are very popular by people to either go and vandalize, go and play on, or just basically not even trying to be criminal, but just ruining the grass and other things. So what we've done in some of those universities, we were able to put together just sometimes 1 or 2 radars to cover pretty much a very large perimeter that is out there in education facilities. We actually have an education facility that has a huge athletic campus. Every RFP that went out came back with about 160 cameras for installation. We were able to cover the whole facility for about 12 or 14 radars, with 14 axis PTZs going back to milestone VMS. Really nice case study for saving tons of money and getting a happy customer. So with that, I have left about 5 minutes. If there's any questions that are out there, just put them in the chat, and we do have a moderator that will put them in for that we can take a look at it. And Again like to really thank you for joining us today. If you saw something that is interesting, again, my name is Yaron Zussman. Company is Magos. Our website is magosys.com, so it's magosys.com. Any questions, please send to info@magosys.com, and we'll be happy to come back and respond to anything that you think we have. Now I will look. It looks like there's one question. Are PTZ an option? PTZ are an option, meaning we a lot of the time we work with PTZ cameras. PTZs actually make the system more effective because they allow to track the target as they move. You don't need to use PTZ cameras, but the system works best when you couple a radar with a PTZ camera. So it looks like there is no other questions. So with that, I will give people back about 5 minutes of their day. And again, really appreciate. Thank you, Convergent Technologies, for allowing us to participate in insights about innovation. Excited to be here, and have everybody have a wonderful, wonderful morning, good evening, good afternoon, or wherever you are in the world. Thank you and cheers. Oh, I do see that we have one more question. They see well in dense fog. The radar sees well in dense fog. The PTZ will probably not. So if you do have to classify, it may be an issue, but you will detect the target. We do have a feature that actually allows us, when there is dense fog, to alert on anything. So that way you don't miss that target because of the classification